Hello YouTube, and welcome to a new installment of Judging and Grading Every Fitness channel. We're already on episode 6, so if you have missed the previous ones, you can find them all in the description. It's very easy to find the name that you're looking for because they're all timestamped. For the few of you that are not familiar with the concept yet, it's very simple. I have my criteria, I have a list of 20, and for each you are ranked from 0 to 10. The higher the grade, the better you are doing. And at the end it gives us a total grade of X out of 200. Top channels usually get 150 because I give very tough grades. So if a guy gets 130, it's not that bad. What's interesting is the reasons that I give. And you will see that today it's very interesting and important because we have some people that are going to be graded harshly, but I want you to understand why they receive such grades. I do feel sort of impish tonight and a bit mean, so I'm going to try and make sure it doesn't impede on my ability to be objective too much, but I also know that it's going to make for a very fun and entertaining watch for you guys, so grab a drink, grab a snack, sit down and enjoy. We are going to start with our very first entry tonight, Peter Katcherian. Programming 8.5. There is a certain flair to Peter's programming advice because he is an old school guy. He looks up to the golden era, to Arnold and all of these dudes, and therefore he tells his advice based on it. But the good thing is that it tends to be good advice. It usually is things that are time-tested, orthodox methods that are proven to get natural lifters big, and so for the most part it is great. I've gotten access to his program that I think costs $27. It actually is a good program as well. There are a few things to say about his approach to leg training and his overemphasis on shoulders, but all of that is part of the golden era package. It's not wrong. And I think that his channel is actually a treasure trove of information for people who are looking for something that is strictly lifting related. That's all he does and he's good at it. Experience 9.5. From what I know, he started lifting when he was 14. He is now 31, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a long time spent under the iron, and it shows. He knows a ton about lifting. He has coached people. He still coaches bodybuilders. He has coached himself as well as a natural bodybuilder. So all of that is a wealth of experience that anyone can benefit from. I don't think he has any experience as an athlete, although I could be wrong, or even as a powerlifter. But since I judge based on my bodybuilding-centric view of fitness, I think that a 9.5 is well deserved. He's also an older gentleman of sorts because we all tend to be in our 20s and he's in his early 30s. And even though that doesn't look like much, we are at a point, like I am at a point at my age where 5 years is massive. You become a completely different human within 5 years. So I give him props for that. Integrity 8. I'm pretty sure that you have never heard the name of Peter Katcherian involved in any drama of sorts, and it's because he doesn't really meddle with it. He's not interested. But I've also noticed that people seem to leave him alone. I don't think I've seen many nanny or nots about the guy. I don't see people trying to start drama with him. And it's because he's all about business. You can sort of sense it in his demeanor. He doesn't give a fuck about that type of things. He's not into drama. He's not into that bullshit. He wants to focus on lifting, and that's really all he does. And he does it well. He is drama-free in a sense. I have not heard anything about the guy selling bunk supplements or trying to scam people. His behavior is pretty classy on this platform. The one thing that could lower his grade, and it's why I took some points off, is his potential enhanced status. This is not a 90 video again, so I'm not going to spend 15 hours describing whether or not he's natty, but you will see that this is a running theme with the grades he's going to receive, so keep that in mind. Usefulness 9. As I said, it's all about lifting. Every single video is going to teach you something new about lifting. You cannot go wrong with it. There's no vlogs, there's no bullshit, there's no rambling. It truly is an encyclopedia of sorts. It's a blueprint to mass, and it's something that he claims, and I think that he is correct in his claim. If you are looking for bodybuilding advice, his channel is very interesting. Character 5. So, I don't have anything against Peter per se, but I also don't have anything positive to say about the guy because he strikes me as someone who lacks nuances in the sense that I don't feel much substance coming from him. Sometimes you meet these people and they feel like NPCs, like you've met that guy before. I've met Peter before, I've met him at a gym before. He sometimes is Italian, he sometimes is Irish, but he's always the same guy. It's what I call weather guy syndrome. The guy who shows you the weather is not important. What matters is the weather. It's the same with his channel. I don't really care if he's interesting or not. What he says is interesting, and that's all that matters. But since on character I judge charisma, personality, ability to get people hooked because of who you are and not what you do, I have to give him a bad grade. I don't think anyone watches Peter for Peter. They watch him for what he does. And for the most part, that makes for good content. But he also struggles to retain people. It's something I've seen with his channel. His viewer retention is pretty bad, because people don't come back. I think that people never think to themselves, oh, I wonder what Peter is doing today, because they don't think of him as a human, as fucked up as it sounds, because his personality is very flat. Dogmatism 4. So he has his approach and he has his shtick. It is a shtick to only talk about old school bodybuilding, to hyper-focus on that period of time. It makes for good content, but it also means that he's sort of allergic to things outside of it. And he has certain claims and certain ideas that I understand why he's pushing, because they align with his ideology, but they're also very dogmatic. So for example, pushing the close grip bench press, pushing certain movements that have an hyper stretch or an extra stretch, because he learned that from Arnold. All of that reeks of bro science a bit. The guy is a bit of a bro scientist. Now, for my money, these are the types of people that I like the most, because they are experience-based as opposed to evidence-based. But it also means that he is not going to give you a broad view of what is out there. He's going to give you his method, tell you that this is what works, and don't look outside of it. It can make for great results, but it also means that it's not going to expand your horizon too much. Keep in mind that all of the guys from the golden era were also pig-headed. It usually is a sign that defines lifters that are going to make it. Originality 6. So I would have given him a lower grade, because I don't see anything new or special in what he does. That being said, he took the golden era theme and he ran with it. You see many dudes who attempt that, and they think that by trying to tap into the nostalgia of lifters, especially boomers, who love Arnold and love Franco and all of these dudes, they're going to be able to make it big, and sometimes it works, but it never works better than when the guy who actually preaches that is big as well. Peter is big as fuck. We're going to get back to it. There are certain things and aspects of his physique that I want to discuss because I'm a little bit confused. But when you have a dude with giant shoulders and giant arms who tells you that this is how to train arms based on what a bodybuilder from 6 years ago said, you are going to be very likely to hear about it and actually follow it. And therefore, this is what makes it original. He took a formula and he made it his own. Now he owns it and he does it very well. So it's nothing new. He took something that existed in the past, but he did something with that old sauce that I think is very interesting. Black Pill 5. So this is when we get into the discussion about his natty status. The guy claims natty. That's great, but it's very easy to claim natty. I don't give a fuck if he's enhanced or not, but what I worry about is the fact that, again, he preaches methods from the golden era that are supposedly going to make you jacked. He says that for naturals it's the best way to train, but if he's not natural, all of that is a lie. And when you look at the fact that all of the guys from the golden era were all on anabolics, all of them, and that a guy like Arnold, for example, looked completely DL when he wasn't on drugs, it makes you question whether or not it actually black pills people. When you tell guys that you're going to look like Dorian or grow a massive back off of his methods, and then it produces no results, you're going to make people very disappointed and they might quit. This is a possibility. This is why I gave him 5 and not 0. I don't think I'll have a chance to get back into it later, so might as well just percer l'abcès, as we say, just pop the wart. That's a disgusting saying, by the way. I think that the guy is suspicious for one reason and one reason only. He has back knee all over his shoulders and upper back, a type that I've only seen on enhanced lifters. So when you see that type of mass plus the back knee, usually it's a dead giveaway, although it's possible to get back knee. To me, it's just that, again, since I have no emotional attachment with the guy because he's so flat, I sort of could see a world where he's actually on drugs. And he also has that TRT daddy vibe. I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's those guys in their 30s or 40s that claim natty, but they just look too good to be true. Maybe it's just me being a hater, there's a part of me that wants to believe, because he is what I think should be achievable naturally if you stick to it into your 30s. So again, my heart wants to believe, but my brain doesn't believe, and this is why this is fairly black pilling. Humor 1, dry. Just dry. The range of comedy, truly, it is sometimes painful, because you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, will I ever smile again in my life? The answer is most likely no. I watched 20 of his videos to prepare for this one, and I never even, what is the term? To snicker. I never even snickered once. You know when someone is trying to make you laugh, but they don't manage, but you still produce that sound with your nose, you go, you know, that noise that says that it's amusing. I was never even amused once. Why? Business. It's all about business. It's all about lifting. I also do think that he takes himself seriously, and sometimes you meet these people and they tend to be anti-comedy because it's just the way their personality is. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but he cannot get a good grade for humor. Parasocial 9, he's huge and he gives pretty dogmatic advice, so I sort of expected his fanboys to be insufferable, but again, since he has a tough time actually retaining people with his personality, he has no fanboys. People like him because he gives good advice, and that's it, and therefore he gets a 9 for Parasocial. Empathy 2. I mean, it's like trying to connect with a drywall when you listen to him. He doesn't let his emotions transpire that much, if he even has emotions. And I'm speaking as someone who is a robot myself, but with him, it's like he was sent back in time and he was modified by mad scientists, and now he's sent back to save humanity from being small. So he's half robot, he's a cyborg. This makes it so also that you struggle sometimes to look at him and perceive him for the human that he's supposed to be, because it just sounds like a stream of information. Even when he's on camera, it sounds like he's doing a voiceover. I think that's the best metaphor I can give. I know that sounds mean, but it's truly the way I feel about him. God Complex 7, the guy seems down to earth to me. He takes himself seriously, but not that seriously. He doesn't have that massive ego that a lot of big guys or steroid users have. So I gave him a pretty good grade, but he clearly also knows that he knows his shit, he gives good advice, and he looks tremendous. So there is still going to be some points that are going to be docked. It's only natural. Production quality 8. So the cameras are good, the sound is good. He has that black and white aesthetic that I think he does because he wants to link it to the golden era, so that makes sense with the pumping iron aesthetic, etc., etc. So it's pretty cool, but it also takes away from the ability to have that crazy 4K image quality. So that's that. The editing is also fairly standard, nothing crazy. Science 7.5. So as I said, he is a bro sciencey type of dude, but the right type of bro sciencey because it's based on experience and logic. All of the things that he talks about, like the stretch, the hyper stretch, whatever he calls it, the explanations that he gives for certain lifts, I agree with pretty much everything that he says. And he doesn't rely on science too much, in the sense that he barely cites studies. And all of that to me points to someone that is actually trying to apply the theories that he preaches. So that is good in my wood. Clickbait 2. If you want to understand what you're supposed to do to make it big on YouTube, go on his page, go into his shorts, and look at the titles. It is exactly what attracts the eyes of normies, of zoomers, of everyone who is even remotely connected to fitness. You see one of his thumbnails and titles, you will click, and props to him for doing that. That's what you're supposed to do, but the clickbait is insane. I saw something funny. He posted a video called How to Train for Size and Strength, which already makes me raise an eyebrow. And then 2 videos later, How to Train for Strength and Size. So you just inverse 2 words and that's a new title? Really? Well, apparently yes, really, because it works. But it's clickbait. Content recycling 3.5. So for the same reason, since he's running that golden era shtick, and of course he saw that it gets him lots of views, he is running the theme into the ground at this point. His most popular videos, the first 20 that you see on the list, are all about the same themes. It's this guy used to train arm like this, you should train arm like this. This is how to get a bigger back, golden era, old school. It's all about old school. It's tiring at some point, but if it's what gets him visibility, I understand exactly why he's doing that. It's also his passion, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's disconnected from the content that he makes. He really does seem very invested. But his thumbnails are also all the same. It's always black and white with red lettering, so it looks very repetitive. Conciseness 10, he doesn't waste your time, does tons of shorts. He's to the point, again, to a level that is robotic, meaning that I don't know if he writes scripts. I would be surprised if he didn't, although again, it could just be his robotic abilities. There is not an extra sentence. There is nothing superfluous. There is no fat. It's like 7 minutes of information. It's a Gatling gun of information. If you blink, you missed it. That's a 10. That's perfect. Seniority 9. So this one, you're going to understand truly how neurotic and how much of a weasel I am at heart. I saw that his channel was fairly new, and he started reposting videos 2 years ago. But I realized also that his channel's entity as an actual URL, as an actual creation on the internet, is 13 years old. He created it in 2011. So that sort of made me tick. So I started to dig, and I found that he created a secondary channel in 2016 from March to April. I sound like a psychopath. I am a psychopath. From April to March or whatever, that was called Jacked TV. And now the channel is suppressed, and I was not able to find any information on the channel. So I don't know exactly what happened then, but I know that he's been around for a long time. I also tracked his activity on forums, and he's been posting on bodybuilding forums. So that, plus the fact that he's been lifting for pretty much 15 years at this point, gives him a good rate for seniority. Supplements 10, doesn't sell supplements. Again, I mean, he sells programs, but if he sold supplements, he would make a fortune. This points to the guy having integrity. This is why I gave him an 8. But yeah, no tucustro, no bullshit. He is squeaky clean, even though, again, with his image and his personality, he could very easily market a supplement. I already see it. Like the old school supplement, the golden era supplement that Arnold used to take. That would sell like hotcakes, but he doesn't do that. So again, my hats off to him. Respect. And then physique 10, because to me, he looks perfect. He has an amazing physique, dominant arms, massive limbs, good core, shredded, but not too lean. To me, perfect physique. The part where I'm suspicious, and it confused me even a bit, is that when you look at his stats, he's supposedly 5'10 and 190. How does that make any sense? I'm 6 feet and 210. He looks twice my size. The first time I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, that guy is 240, like minimum 240, and he's on drugs. Then I saw 190 and I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe he's natural, unless he's lying about his stats to be able to pass as a natty. But if he is natural, he is the biggest 190 I've ever seen in my life, or he's really good with camera angles and lighting. I don't know which one it is. It could be that. It's possible to have a physique that looks completely unnatural because you know what you're doing. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing, but he does. So regardless, I buy into it. The illusion is perfect. Physique, a perfect 10. And that gives us, for Peter Katcherian, a total grade of 134 points. Next up on our list is going to be Jujimufu. Programming 6. So if you look at Juji's channel nowadays, you would think that the guy knows jack shit about programming. That's not true. Back in the days, he used to have whiteboard videos where he would put a program on a whiteboard and he would explain the reasoning behind it. He would run it for 3 days, then go back, try to see if he could make modifications. The guy clearly knows his stuff. It's just that he stepped back from it because it just doesn't get any clicks. So I had to dog some points, but I know deep down that he actually knows how to train. Experience 9. So Juji has been an acrobat. He has been, and he still is, a bodybuilder, both natural and unnatural. He has done powerlifting, he has done heavy squats, heavy deads. He has done a lot of things. I think that he is what in France we call un touche à tout, a touch everything. That is conspicuous a bit. I'm not saying that he touches people, as in sexual harassment. I mean that he touches things in terms of discipline, in terms of profession, in terms of sports, right? He wants to do everything. He wants to be agile. He wants to be able to do backflips. He wants to be able to climb walls. He wants to be able to run very fast. All of this means that when you go to his page, you are met with someone who has done it all, and therefore he can give you advice on pretty much everything, and I think that this is greatly valuable. Integrity 6. So this one is rough, right? This is a low grade because Juji at first glance is someone with a lot of integrity. But there are a lot of things that happen throughout the years that maybe dog points. First and foremost, his associate, his past associate Tom, does tank his grade a bit, not because he is guilty by association, not at all, but rather because the practices that Tom brought into his business were sketchy and Juji never did anything against them, and that's reflected with the channel and its direction. Before Tom, Juji was someone who was very introspective, he was calm, very calm. He was a lovely guy in reality. I personally really preferred him before Tom, and Tom brought that energy, that Hollywood spirit, that mercantile spirit as well, that made the channel brew up, but it also docked a ton of points for integrity because Juji stopped standing for what he used to stand for, and he sort of sold himself to the highest bidder, and I cannot just stand there and pretend that I don't see it. He started to sell those smelling salts I'm going to get back to at some point, started to sell some grippers. Sure, these products might actually be great, but all of that also speaks to someone who tried to turn his passion into a profit, and you cannot have high integrity when that happens. So this is where we stand on that. For usefulness, we go with a 4, because at this point, watching Juji is watching the circus. You just watch other people train, you watch other people have fun or do crazy, goofy things, but you learn absolutely nothing. Again, I'm nostalgic of the days where it was Juji, his pair of jeans, and the cat. That was the good old days where he actually taught you things throughout the video. Nowadays, yeah, sure, he's going to have like this guru or that guru, this pro bodybuilder will come in, but what exactly can you learn from that? Well, you're going to do an isolation exercise for 30 reps. Is it really going to get you jacked? Is it really going to get you to push your body to the next limit, to push your mindset? I don't think so. I think that this is now, again, purely entertainment, and that is fine, but it's not very useful. Character 8. So, the guy I like, Juji I really like, and I think that the reason why I give him such a high grade is because I'm going with what I know or what I think I know he is, and not the clown that he shows for the camera. I don't think that this excited facade that he shows, the screaming, the jumping around, I don't think that's real. I think that's bullshit. I think it's a fabrication, a gimmick persona that he had to create to become big on YouTube because that's what people like. Apparently, they like people who scream. But I also know how he can be, and the guy underneath the mask I like a lot, so I don't want to give him a bad grade for this. But I did dock 2 points because a lot of people cannot stand that fake, hyper-energetic personality that he showcases nowadays, and that is perfectly understandable. But I think that deep down at heart, Juji really is a good guy. Dogmatism 10. He has his own methods, but he's done so many things that at this point he figured out that everything works as long as you push hard enough. He also has people on his channel all the time that are going to show different methods, which is a good thing in terms of dogmatism because it means that you're never going to stick to your guns. You're always going to have different opinions shared on the channel. This can be detrimental because of the people who follow you and who might, again, just jump from program to program or jump from method to method or from sport to sport because they want to be like you, but he's not responsible for that. That is for the grade of parasocial that we're going to get back at. Originality 3. So now this is the part where I get mean. Juji is what I could only describe as a charisma black hole, meaning that as an individual, he stands on no legs. And I used to like it. You don't need to be charismatic to make good videos. You just need to be relatable. He used to be relatable. Then Tom got on board and Tom transformed Juji into his Frankenstein creature to make more money and to get more views. And this is when all of that went down the shitter. And this is why I have to give a low grade for originalities, because he himself, Juji, was never able to produce videos or content that would make him big or blow up. Tom had that. Tom had that spirit, that snake spirit, to know exactly where to touch the algorithms so that it would actually make them blow up, which means that you end up doing what everyone else does, where you invite this guy to make a, I don't know, like a lifting competition. it results in a channel where Judy has become a guest on his own platform. Sometimes you watch his videos, you're like, oh yeah, I'm actually watching Jujimufu and not Devon Larratt or not Bugenhagen. It's sad, and again, it is mean, but it's true. He lacks charisma to the point that he has to rely on other people to be able to produce content that people are going to actually want to watch. But that also means that at some point, it's just repetitive. It's, okay, who is the next big guy that is going to be on Judy's channel that is going to take over the show for him and actually get people to watch the video? It's redundant, it's repetitive, it's not original. Because why would I just not go watch these guys on their own channels at this point? I actually originally wanted to watch Jujimufu and not Bugenhagen and Jujimufu in the background making funny faces. Black Pearl 5, so this one is because of what I just said. Most of the people he invites are people on drugs or people who are not relatable because they're pro athletes or to a level where the average normie has nothing to learn from them and can even be discouraged by them. Then there's also Juji's drug use. Yes, he's the anabolic acrobat. Yes, it's his gimmick. Yes, he does whatever he wants. But when you look at his transformation, it is blackpilling as fuck because it looks to me like he only got bigger because he upped the dose. You're not going to sit there and tell me that he looks the way he looks right now because of his training methods. I don't buy it. He just is taking more and more and more PEDs. I remember a Juji from way back who wore jeans, did deadlifts with jeans, and looked human. Nowadays he doesn't. He looks like Bigfoot after a haircut. That's blackpilling, especially for someone who has been following him for a very long time. He had Tom on for a while, and actually for once Tom was less of a wimpy weasel when he actually trained and showcased his transformation. That was actually quite inspiring, but that is now gone. So any remnant of natural essence on Judy's channel has disappeared entirely. Humor 4. So Judy is not necessarily unfunny, but whatever he calls humor nowadays and comedy, to me is the equivalent of watching a Minion movie. You know these movies with the tiny yellow characters that kids love? Whenever you meet an adult that likes Minions, run. This person has an actual disability. In terms of development, if you still like these things that make funny noses, at age 20 you have a problem. It's sort of the same with his channel. I don't see what's funny with putting on a mask of a horse and then doing funny noses, right? Doing Gangnam Style, whatever. Who laughs at this, right? Beyond 8 years old, who is going to find this amusing? Not me. But it still gets him a grade that is not completely to the ground because I know that it sort of works on some people. It's like fart jokes. Yeah, they're stupid, but some people laugh at them. So 4. Parasocial 7. So he has 1.34 million subscribers, if I'm not mistaken, which should mean that the Parasocial is fucking crazy. But again, because he has the charisma of a wet wipe, people are not really attached to him that much. I mean, they like him, but I think that to get people to fanboy for you, you have to be a certain way. So the people who like Juji don't fanboy, they just like him for who he is under the mask. And anyone else are not going to latch onto him, because if you have to pick, if you could pick between Bugenhagen or Juji in terms of whose dick you want to suck, you're going to suck Bugenhagen's. It just makes more sense. And it's sort of it's a running gag on his channel at this point too, because he gets outshined by every single person that shows up. Like recently he had Brian Shaw. Yeah, I'm going to suck Shaw's gigantic dick. Every time I make this episode, I talk about sucking dick. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I have a problem, clearly. Maybe it's because I'm French. As we all know, the French are straight in the morning, and in the afternoon we all turn gay. So that is that for Parasocial. I'm already starting to lose my mind, so this bodes well for the rest of this episode. Empathy 6.5. Again, before and after. Before Tom, after Tom. Before Tom, lots of empathy, lots of bro talk, looking into the camera, connecting with us. A human, an actual human. After Tom, a puppet. Frankenstein. No emotion, nothing. I cannot relate to him anymore, but for the sake of the past, I guess, I have to give him some points there. God Complex 10. Down to earth. Juji is actually very down to earth. Il a pas la grosse tête. He is relatable. So all of that makes me want to give him a perfect 10 because I think he deserves it. Production quality 8. So there is a clear, the quality at the start was shit and it was good content. Then Tom got on board and it became Hollywood. So it was a perfect 10. The videos were insanely well produced. And then Tom left and it became an 8. So I give him an 8 because nowadays whoever is holding the camera is not doing a good job and the editing clearly went down. So it's funny because Tom should be included. I'm sure he would want to be included because he doesn't like to not be included. He wants when that happens in the thing because so many of the gradings have to do with Tom also. But it's crazy to see the impact that the guy had on the channel and what happened afterwards too. You clearly could see that there was a period of time where Juji was struggling to find his way once Tom was gone because Tom was handling everything. He was his manager, which makes sense when you know the guy. And afterwards, to be able to get views again because the channel was dying, he just resorted back to what Tom used to do, but he does it with less of an ability because he's less of a snake. I'm not going to keep going on Tom's case, but I think it's the relationship that they had, the two of them, was fascinating, truly fascinating in a sense. Science 6 doesn't cite studies, doesn't make use of it that much, mostly experience-based, mostly bro science. Not great, not bad. Clickbait 2, well, I mean, he has 1 million subscribers. Everyone with 1 million subscribers clickbaits. You cannot not clickbait, because if you don't clickbait, you get 50k views and your channel dies. So this is not an actual option. So 2, but I don't hold it against him again. Content recycling 3, because again, as I say, he has like 5 people on the roster that he just invites. So you have 3 months of Bugenhagen content, then 3 months of Devon Larratt content, then 3 months of shows content, and maybe a week of Juji. If we're lucky, we'll get a week of Juji. But all of that is just highly repetitive, and at this point, again, you're just watching other men train. That's the gist of his channel. You watch other dudes train, and it gets really, really old. Conciseness 8, the videos are to the point. Although some of the videos are 20 minutes long and they feel like 40 minutes because you are just watching guys shoot the shit. At which point I ask, why not just get friends of your own instead of watching other people have friends? That is pathetic. Seniority 8.5. So YouTube had the great idea of removing the oldest tab on the videos. So now I cannot see where our first video was uploaded. Thank you, YouTube. It truly is a platform run by baboons. But I know that he's been here for a long time because I've been watching him pretty much since the beginning of his channel. So he gets a very high grade for this. Not a fan of where he took his channel in the direction of the project, but again, I understand the motivation behind it. He quit his job and now YouTube is his job, and when YouTube is your job, you have no choice, you have to keep grinding. Supplements 8, he doesn't sell supplements proper, but he does sell those smelling salts, which I think are the biggest memes in existence. If you have to get yourself to a point where you're ready to fight a tiger, to lift heavy weights, you should really rethink your approach to lifting because that is not sustainable. Thankfully, the hype around smelling salts has died down a bit. Physique 9, he looks like a pro bodybuilder. So he has massive shoulders, massive everything. Not a fan of the physique, but I mean, I'm not going to give him less than a 9 because it is still a tremendous physique, even though he is paying it with his life. Jujimufu, total grade, 131 points. Next up, Alex Eubank. Programming 3. The focus of the guy is clearly not on teaching you how to program or train. The focus is on making vlogs and on turning you into a Ziz fanboy, I guess. I did manage to access his personal program, the Greek God program, how original, and it wasn't horrible, but it's pretty shit. I will eventually review it, just for the sake of, again, trying to get some of his fanboys to not follow his methods. It is a blessing in disguise that he barely talks about training at this point, because looking at the quality of information that he would be able to provide, it's best if he doesn't actually share it. Most of the information you will get is from watching him train, which also means that you won't retain much. You will be too busy actually admiring his physique to pay attention to what he's actually doing. Experience 4. So he's young, he's 22. He looks 17 because of the haircut, and I mean, I guess it's a strategy to appeal to Zoomers, so it would make sense. But in terms of raw lifting experience, he hasn't been doing it for that long. On top of that, he's one of these perma-lean guys, which for the most part means that he's just peddling. He's peddling things, but he's also peddling in the sense that he's stuck in the hamster wheel of trying to stay lean, which is a horrible message for young men, but we're going to get back to that. So I cannot give him a better grade for experience because not only is he young, he hasn't lifted for a long time, but the quality of the lifting that he's done doesn't really allow him to feed his viewers quality information. Then we have integrity with a solid 2. Why? The guy is 22, he blew up recently, and he already has 7 or 8 sponsors. Like, take your time, bro. You'll get to scam people. Just don't do it all at once. He is the perfect representation of the aesthetic bra, right? They want to make it big for one reason and one reason only, to have fame and to make money. The second they can capitalize, Gymshark becomes their sponsor. They're sponsored by 15 supplements brands. It is insane. And that is low integrity because they do that for the sole purpose of being able to peddle that type of merchandise to their viewers who are too stupid to realize that none of it actually helps building muscle. So low integrity. On top of that, he started to connect with Greg Doucette. We all know where that is going to land him. He is most likely going to become enhanced within the next 3 years, and he is not going to be someone reputable or respectable in the industry. But these people also tend to make it the biggest, so what do I know? Usefulness 6. Before you take out your pitchforks, yes, 6 is a very high grade for the type of information he gives, but I also bring it back to the viewer. Who watches Alex Eubank? Zoomers, 14 years old, okay? Keep in mind that for a monkey, someone who struggles to tie their shoes is a genius, because intelligence is based on standards and how you relate to the world around you. For someone with 150 IQs, I am a monkey myself, right? And therefore, this means that there are people who are going to be able to learn from him, even just the basics of lifting, or even just the motivation of lifting. Many people will say that they got into the gym because of him. Are they going to get very far with his information? Absolutely not, but at least they got started, so we can give him props for that. Character 2. He is my nemesis in the sense that he is the exact opposite of what I am. He's tailored to be attractive to Zoomers, and therefore he resembles them, whereas I'm more of a boomer myself. And what made me laugh with him is that I found pictures of him not too long ago, before he completely changed his look, where he looked like me. He used to have like short brown hair, he used to have glasses, and now he rebranded to the point that he looks like a completely different person. Bleached blonde hair, those piercing blue eyes that look like contacts. I mean, he understands his target audience, and that's a very good strategy, because when you look like an actual, what is the term in English, how do they call these people? Lab rat? We call it a rat bibliothèque. We can also say a geek. When you look like this, Zoomers are not going to be very interested. You need to look like you're a surfer. You need to look like you bang chicks. The only thing I look like I bang are books in the library. So this also means that watching him for me is like consuming rat poison. To make this video, I had to sift through some of his content, and it was pure suffering. The guy is unsufferable. He is narcissistic, but exactly the wrong way. And I don't even think that it's real. That's the worst part. I think it's fake. I think there's a real person underneath, but he's doing that for the clout. He's doing that because that's what Zoomers like. Zoomers like that braggadocious attitude. They like the Z's mindset. And that's that. I think that what he did is he downloaded the entirety of Z's behavior into him, and now that's what he is. That's what he showcases. And I cannot, for the love of God, fucking stand it. Dogmatism 10, because to be dogmatic, you have to have a training methodology, and he has none whatsoever, because he trains for aesthetics, which makes a ton of sense. The aesthetic crew on YouTube is, for the most part, completely inept when it comes to actually training. So that's a perfect grade for him. I guess that's great. Originality 3, because he's just another Ziz copycat. And he's also a David Lape copycat, which is a Ziz copycat, and he's I don't even remember the name of this guy. These guys are so interchangeable that all of their names and faces blur into my mind, into that amalgamous blob of just merchandising and consumerism and trying to sell people things. So it's impossible to give him a better grade than 3, because I've seen this shit. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if his content was generated by an AI that would just make sense. An AI that has looked at what Zoomers consume on TikTok, and it just pumps out content on YouTube continuously. That is my theory, and I stand by it. Blackpool 2, he constantly clickbaits around his natty status, getting to the dark side. Am I natty or not? Am I going to start taking drugs? He hangs out with drug users, with black pill people like Greg Doucette, with all of these dudes, these skywalkers, whatever, all of these people that were not hugging Ziz and who managed to not die in a sauna like he did, who are still somehow alive, still on drugs and look like shit. You're on train and you're 170. What exactly happened? Well, I don't know what happened, but this guy is hanging out with them. He also makes videos where he says that being natty sucks, I have small arms, being natty sucks. So he blackpills the shit out of an audience of young men who have barely put in their first year of training, just like he has barely put in his 10 years of training, which is the bare minimum. So it is a terrible grade. He might still be natural, he might still want to stay natural for a reason or another, but he is a horrible influence on people. Humor 4, he's not funny, but then again, Zoomers are not funny and Zoomer humor is not funny. I did find some comedy in his content in the sense that he has a certain way of spinning situations, or sometimes I watch him and I'm like, okay, is he self-aware? Is he just actually producing absurdist comedy? Am I watching someone who knows that vlogs are garbage and he just does it because he is completely nihilistic and he just knows it's the way to go on YouTube, but deep down he's making fun of the people that watch him? I don't know, it's the vibe that I got, so I get him a 4 for that. But whoever stares in his videos needs to consume bleach as soon as possible. I have lost IQ points listening to some of the jokes that his co-stars have tried to utter in the videos, so thanks, but no thanks. Parasocial 3, his fanboys are insufferable, just like any fanboys, but with them, the worst part is that they're so young that they have managed to fanboys for someone who is barely older than them and barely has more life experience. So even making fun of them is not really that fun because it's like making fun of an handicapped kid. Like, yeah, it's a very low-hanging fruit. And on top of that, they won't even understand the jokes that you make about them, so you don't even have the pleasure of seeing their faces decompose when you call them retards. And that's all the fun of calling someone a retard, so there's not much to do with them. I hope that they're going to grow up one day. Empathy 4, it's a vlog, so it's about him, it's me. And actually, I ran stats just for the heck of it. 85% of his videos have him in the thumbnail. He's in 85% of the thumbnails, which is insane because when you look at his page, it's like him shirtless with this angle, then him shirtless with this angle. Oh, picture of his girlfriend's ass, then this angle of him shirtless again, what a surprise. Then him with a guy shirtless. It just is non-stop non-stop. But it makes sense because the people that watch him for him, right? As opposed to Peter Katcherian that makes good content. For him, they don't really give a fuck what he does. He could make a vlog about eating ice cream, they wouldn't care. What matters is that he makes the video. God Complex 2, because Zoomers literally worship the guy. It is embarrassing how much he's loved by these types, which really points to the fact that atheism is a meme. What do I mean by this? You have two choices. You can either worship an Abrahamic god that has been around for thousands of years, that created the literal fucking universe and is loved and followed by millions, billions of people, or you can worship some 22-year-old who has bleached hair and makes videos about how he's going to wear a bra if he loses a challenge. Which one do you pick? Zoomers, as a whole, as a population, pick the second option. That's who they want to worship. And then these very same people will tell you that believing in God makes you an idiot. Well, I don't know if it makes you an idiot, but I think that worshipping someone on TikTok or YouTube, a random kid, makes you much more of a drooling retard. Production quality 10, because it's perfect. The thumbnails are perfect. Whoever is making these thumbnails need a raise, because they managed to make a guy who is 170 look like an absolute god. He looks bigger than me. I'm 40 pounds heavier than him. But again, it's the magic of Instagram, of TikTok and YouTube. You are only as big as you look. So if you can manage to look big, then you are big. That is how the system works. Science 6, because again, not many studies shown or cited, because who cares about science? It's for nerds, right? But also a level of bro science that I don't necessarily disagree with. He has not promoted any dangerous things. From what I know, he's not promoting any cool, crazy exercises. He does buy into some of the biggest memes produced by pro bodybuilding, like pre-fatiguing the quads before you do squats. But all of that is not terrible, so I don't want to give him too bad of a grade for this. He's getting destroyed enough on the other criteria. Clickbait 2, he would sell his own mom for clicks, just like any of these aesthetic YouTubers. For him, what shocked me is that sometimes it transcends the realm of fitness and it looks like clickbait that you could find on commentary channels where it's a picture of his girlfriend's face crying and underneath the title is, "I left my girlfriend." And at this point, you really wonder who clicks on this. Not people who care about lifting, you care about vlogs, you care about celebrities, you care about gossip. That's why you click on it and that's why he makes that type of content. Why would I give a fuck that some random kid dumped his girlfriend? Why would that matter to me? Well, it doesn't, because I have a job, I'm married, and I have a house. It matters to kids because it's very interesting since it's related to their life. They're thinking, oh, I don't have a girlfriend, but he does. Let's listen to what he has to say about it. Maybe he's going to give me some tips. Pathetic. Again, completely pathetic content. So that's a 2 for clickbait. Also, this trend of putting your girlfriend's ass in your thumbnails to get clicks, I will never understand. Is it your girlfriend or is it a whore that you picked up on the side of the road and you're going to pimp for dollars? How is it acceptable to use your girlfriend as a piece of meat just to be able to get other guys to want to jerk off on her so they're going to click on the video? All of that is very obscure. All of that makes me very uncomfortable. All of that is the worst type of clickbait. Content recycling 8. Because whoever is making his editing, whoever is making the thumbnails, and whoever is making his titles is doing a good job. Every single video looks fresh, even though it's just the same garbage that you've already seen a million times on these other channels. But this is the beauty of making videos when you have nothing to say. You know you have nothing to say, so you can focus on the packaging. And as we know, the packaging is much more important than the content of the package itself. Which is why conciseness is also a 9. All of the videos are to the point, they're edited, they're snappy, lots of music, lots of hard style that is going to hypnotize you into watching the video even though you are learning absolutely nothing. Seniority 6, so 22 years old, blew up on YouTube recently. I give him a 6 even though he should have less of a good grade, but at this point his total grade is already so bad that I don't want to beat a dead horse. Supplement 0, a perfect 0. Why? I looked him up. I knew he was going to sell supplements because, of course, he's sponsored by Gymshark, so that only made sense. And I found that the brand that he's sponsored by, which might actually be his own brand, is called, get ready for this, Alpha Lion. Have you ever heard a more Zoomer baity name for a supplement company? Alpha Lion. Then you look at the packaging of his products, it's super bright colors. It looks like candy, okay? It looks like candy. He could start selling Psalms and people would think that they're buying like Tic Tacs. This is dangerous because the products that he sells are overpriced as fuck and they do nothing. They have muscle building on the label. These powders don't build muscle. The only thing that builds muscle is training, that's it, and food, that's it. Supplements do nothing, fucking 0. I'm tired of these motherfuckers, I really am. Rent, I don't give a fuck. When is it going to stop? There's a new Alex Eubank every single year. When is it going to stop? Where is the factory where these people are produced that I can aim my nuclear missile at and just blow it to smithereens? Please tell me and I will get it done in a second. Putin, Vladimir, please leave the Ukrainians alone and start sending bombs towards these guys. This is the actual threat to the Russian supremacy, not the Ukrainians. Rant over. Physique 7, it's a trick. Right? Just like with all of these guys, it's a trick. For the most part, it's lighting, it's pump, it's how they film, but I fall for it because he does look amazing, even though his stats reflect that he's not that big, so I give him a 7. And that gives us a total grade of 93 points for Alex Eubank. He has the worst grade out of any other fitness YouTuber, and he's actually the only person that is below 100. Alex, you failed your test, spend more time studying instead of making content for Zoomers. Next up, basement bodybuilding. Programming 8.5. The guy's channel is all about lifting, and 80% of these lifting videos are about programming. They're about his lifting methodology and his training philosophy. All of this means that if you want to learn how to train for bodybuilding, this is a page that you must visit. I don't give him a 10 because I perceive and sense that he's not there yet. He has yet to reach the complete vision that he's trying to manifest, and his lifting philosophy is not completed yet. So I think that once it is, and we see the final product, he will get a perfect 10. Even when he does make videos about him lifting, for example, he always brings it back to you. He always talks about, this is why I do this is what you can learn from me, and then how to apply it into your own training. All of this means that he is going to get good grades for things related to lifting. For experience, however, he gets a 6.5 because he's fairly young. And, you know, la valeur n'attend pas le nombre des années. You can be young and still be a great influence. This is something that I think I represent as well. I'm not sitting there with my beard to my dick telling you that, oh, you must spend more time on the mountain by discipline. No, no, no. But I always try to prioritize people with a lot of experience, veterans, when I give grades for experience, and he's simply not there yet. He still has to put in many years. Integrity 10, no drama, no clickbait. If he does name drop, he's going to name drop because it's relevant to the discussion and not just to get your clicks. All of this is very refreshing on YouTube Fitness in particular, so I have to give him a perfect grade for that. The guy also strikes me as someone that you can trust. That's just my personal hunch on the man. And you will see that also with the character when we get to character grade. Usefulness 9. If you care about lifting, you're going to like his channel. If you want to be entertained or to forget that your life actually sucks and to just dilapidate the few hours of attention span that you have on a daily basis, you're not going to enjoy what he has to offer because it's very dry, it's cut and dry, it's to the point. But all of this, if what you really want is to learn the nitty-gritty of bodybuilding, is great. So usefulness 9. Character 8. I like the guy, which shouldn't really be a surprise because we seem to be fairly similar in terms of personality. He also is a nerd. I think that it's fair to say that he's a nerd, and therefore it's not a surprise that someone like me would enjoy his content because he also is someone who is going to sit there with no editing, no background music, and he's just going to talk to the camera, which is the way I think YouTube Fitness should be. But alas, we have moved away from this. Warning, if you have something against people with glasses, you are not going to enjoy him. If you have something against people who have the ability to bore you to death with a topic that you think a normal human would never actually care about, but the guy is somehow able to autistically ramble about it for 30 minutes, you are not going to like the guy. But since you're on this channel and you have already been listening to me for 50 minutes talking about my opinion about other guys, I think that you are going to find yourself right at home on his channel. So please go visit his page. Dogmatism 5.5. This is interesting because he is fighting dogmatism. He's fighting powerlifting dogmatism, which is horrible for hypertrophy. But by doing that, he's also creating a new dogma of his own. This is sort of the thing with dogmatism, right? It's the problem is that he who stares into the abyss must be careful that he doesn't turn into the monster, or whatever that quote goes. I'm so tired that I can't even quote Nietzsche. Shame on me. But in this case, it also means that if you're someone who's not interested in bodybuilding and you're not certain yet where you stand, you're going to listen to him. And his advice is so hyper-specific to hypertrophy in particular that you might end up just wasting your time. If you care about strength, his methods are not going to work. And that's something that requires your ability to also know where you stand, which is not a given. Many people don't know where they stand. So be careful. He is fairly dogmatic. He is fighting against methods, and therefore he has his own methods that he's going to tell you are the best. Where he is wrong or not, this is something to watch out for. Originality 3. He does nothing new. It's training vlogs. It's a guy talking to you about progressive overload. It's been seen times and times again. If his channel had existed 10 years ago, it would have been the same, right? There would be literally no difference. His channel is timeless. It could be in any time period where there was YouTube and you would say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Which also means that you are not going to be amazed. You're not going to be mind blown by his concepts or his ability to twist this topic into something you've never seen before. No. It's the same old soup that you've eaten times and times again, but it's with soup that you grow bigger and it's with soup that you don't catch disease. The soup of the grandma is truly the essence of culinary practice. Yes, I'm starting to use silly accents because for some reason I am burnt the fuck out. I really need to take a step back. He says as he will spend another day or another night editing videos, even though he should be resting instead. Moving on. Black Pill 9, natural, literally never mentions drugs. Never mentions drugs, almost never, which is why I say that his channel is like stuck out of time. It's like if you took a dude who has never even learned of the existence of PEDs and you just led him to his own device and he started making content, you would get this. And I'm starting to think that this is actually the best approach. This is the least blackpilling approach. But it's also fairly naive in a sense, because you sort of leave out all of the kids that are going to get blackpilled by people who are not like you and who preach drugs. He has chosen his own path, and his own path is just natty all the way. The rest doesn't even exist. I have to give him props for that. Humor 3, he is not funny. And that's not a problem, because you don't go to his channel to be amused or to be entertained or to laugh. But it's something that I must warn you about, right? If you're waiting for someone who is going to do puet-puet with the red nose and be a clown, it's just not going to happen, because it is simply not in his DNA, it seems. There is something about, there's that specific type of man that is so serious and stoic that you sometimes wonder if they have the ability to smile or laugh. Parasocial 8, small channel. Personality that is less than shiny, in the sense that if YouTube fitness is an assortment of turds that pretend to be jewels, he is granite, he is charcoal. But again, you are not going to fuel your chimney and your fire with jewels or with diamonds or with rubies or sapphires. You fuel it with motherfucking coal, charcoal. So I give him an 8 for Parasocial. He has no fanboys, although I have run into some of his fanboys and they're weird. But it's not his fault. They fanboy for him because they have this not like the other girls attitude and mindset. They think that following underground fitness channels makes them cool. But as I have experienced myself, these people tend to jump ship whenever the channel blows up, and I hope that his channel is going to blow up. Empathy 4, he doesn't really tap into my emotions that much when I listen to him, rather. I actually made a compilation video about advice that all of the natty YouTubers gave. His advice was great, but if you compare him to someone like Stan Strength, for example, Stan Strength has a much keener ability to emotionally connect with you. Not necessarily a bad thing, because most of the things that Basement Bodybuilding talks about is technical, but sometimes when he tries to get into, again, that emotional domain, or he starts to talk about his past or the mistake that he's made, it's very factual. It's very German. I wonder if he has a German ancestry, because he's like clinical. That's the term. He's very technical, right? He's a guy that if you leave him for a day in an empty room with like scrap metal, you come back the next day and there's a Volkswagen. Like, he made you a BMW out of all of these scraps just to pass the time. That's sort of how I see him. But because I'm French, I also have a tough time connecting with Germans. Every time we try to connect with these guys, bad things happen. God Complex 10, perfect, no ego, a man of no ego, just tells you what works, what doesn't, based on his opinion, will not get upset if you disagree with him. He doesn't really care, because he doesn't really have a horse in the race, in the sense, right? He's not trying to market anything, so if you disagree with him, he's just going to see it as an opportunity to discuss with you and challenge your dogma, in a sense. So that's great. Production quality 5. He films in, I think, a shack or a shed. There's wood behind him. I love it, personally. I think that the best home gyms are the ones that look like dungeons, but it also makes for a pretty grim background. It's not super flashy or exciting for the eyes. He also is not editing the videos that much. There's no background music. The quality is not that good. The sound quality is not horrible, but not the best. So, split in the middle, 5. Science 6. He's not a sciencey guy, he's not an evidence-based guy, although he is connecting his methodology with what we know about biomechanics and the way the human body works, so that is good. I don't give him a high grade, because as you've come to understand, it's almost impossible to get a high grade with science. It truly is a matter of managing to be the perfect mix of a bro scientist and a proper scientist, and I've come to understand that this is almost impossible. Clickbait 9, no clickbait, factual as fuck. Holy shit. This is what titles should be, by the way. The reason why we don't do that, and by we I mean the other YouTubers, is because it sadly is not going to make you big. It is the sad reality of his situation as well. Basement, if you're watching this, I'm a robot. I do not care about you in terms of emotions, because I have none. But if you want your channel to blow up, you're going to have to bite the bullet. You're going to have to start to clickbait at least a bit, just a bit. Because the titles are great. I know exactly what the video is going to talk about, but it also is what is going to prevent your channel from making it big. So what you can do is be cryptic. You don't have to suck dick. You can be cryptic. And sometimes you do it. Sometimes you do something like, I don't know, like the honest truth about compound movements, right? That's still the title of a video that's informative. People know what you're going to talk about, but it tickles their curiosity. Don't hesitate to do more of that, although if you tell me to go fuck myself, I would understand. Content recycling 8, which is par for the course. The channel is young, but also sense that the guy has a ton of ideas. He's producing a ton of new things. He strikes me as the type of man who cannot contain himself. He always wants to do new things. I'm sure that he has a long list of concepts that he wants to discuss. We'll see how long that lasts, because the issue with fitness is that it is finite. So unless you have lots of imagination or you're willing to recycle your content, at some point you run out of things to say. Conciseness 4, the videos are long, sometimes he rambles, sometimes there are long pauses where nothing happens and he doesn't edit them out. Some people like it, some people don't, but it's simply not concise. Seniority 4, low grade, but it's because he just got started. He's a young pup. He has a lot of years to put into this, into training, into making videos, so the grade is just going to keep improving with time. Supplements 10 doesn't even talk about supplements. I tried to find a video of him talking about supplements, he doesn't even mention them, so perfect grade. And for physique, I gave him a 6. Some would say that this is harsh, and you would be correct, because qui aime bien, châtie bien. I have a lot of hope for the guy. 6 because I know for a fact that in a year he will be a 7, then an 8, then a 9. He's only getting started. He's only scratching the surface of what natural bodybuilding can actually be. And that gives us a total grade of 136.5 points for Mr. Basement Bodybuilding. And now we're getting to the part that most of you guys were waiting for. Most of you clicked on this video because you wanted to hear what I think about this dude being the Liver King. And I was going to, of course, leave him for the end of the video, that way I have a lot of watch time, although I just realized that if I timestamped the video, it sort of defeats the purpose. Fuck. Liver King, programming 1. 1 because if you look at the way he trains, the way he says he trains, he spends more time walking than he spends training. I'm not shitting you. If you look at the amount of time he spends walking around his property as a warm-up, it amounts on like 3 hours a week, and the total amount of time he spends lifting weights is like 2 hours. He built his physique with drugs. There's no way around it. Anyone who says otherwise is completely delusional. The dude spends more time walking than he spends lifting weights. What the fuck? And when he does lift weights, he lifts logs. 3 branches. Normies see that and say, wow, that's really impressive. Motherfucker, a 3 branch is 40 pounds. It's a 40-pound overhead press. How the fuck is that impressive? How is wrapping chains around your neck and going for a trek impressive? A chain is 10 pounds. It's like wearing a backpack, an empty backpack, or a backpack with 2 bottles of water. Normies truly like the stupidest shit, but this is all he can teach people. He can teach people how to be shiny. He can teach people how to train in a way that is going to impress others, but will no results whatsoever unless you are on drugs. So absolutely never train like the Liver King. Experience 6. So he has a lot of experience swindling people, but he also apparently used to know how to lift back in the days, because there are pictures of him where he looked pretty jacked in his young years. Then he went into a weird hippie phase where he had a beard and he was super skinny. He looked like he just got released from the gulags. Then he got massive for the reasons that we already know. The raw meat, of course. But that also still counts as experience to me, right? Even if the amount of information that you gathered was only used to scam people, it's still experience, so in my opinion, it still counts. I don't give him the full point because I think that it's not that useful, but usefulness is a different grade. Integrity 0. Of course, that's not a surprise, but let me explain to you why. It's not because he's on drugs. If he had came on and said, hey, I'm on drugs, but I also so happen to sell liver pill supplements and I preach this lifestyle, I would give him a high integrity grade, because even if you're selling bullshit to people, as long as you're honest about being a piece of shit, it's fine in my books. My issue is that he lied. And this is also why his excuse and apology made no sense. He said that he lied to promote his lifestyle. But the issue is that people followed his lifestyle for the benefits that were all fabricated because they came from the drugs. So all of that points to a very low integrity. He couldn't even be faithful to his own ideology. That is the telltale sign of a sociopath and of a piece of shit. Right? You have people who have horrendous ideologies, but at least they stick to them, at least they actually believe in them. I don't think the guy believes in his bullshit. I think it was all a marketing scheme. Usefulness 6, because the ancestral tenets are not that dumb. As they are, and as a standalone entity, without the marketing and without Liver King, yes, it's smart. Yes, you should go take the sun. Yes, you should walk. Yes, you should connect with people. All of that is great. The problem is what he did with it. But let's say, like, fucked up scenario. In 1,000 years, the only thing that is preserved of humanity is the ancestral tenets, but Liver King is not in them. He's never included. That would become something very interesting and an important resource. So this is why I give him a 6 for this. Character 8. Character 8. Okay, we're not talking about integrity here. We're talking about the character. How enticing is the character? Is there even a character? Here, there is a character. It's Gimli from Lord of the Rings. But he eats only raw meat. And he screams at you to become primal. That is super entertaining. I have a good time listening to him. But I think the only way to do that is to look at him as a caricature. If you consume him as a caricature, as like a Simpson or South Park character, then it becomes palatable. Then you're like, oh, that makes sense. And it also helps you understand why so many people fell for it. The guy is a marketing genius. He has some help from other marketing geniuses like Derek from More Plates, More Dates. But on top of that, it's the character that got people to stick with him. It's the beard, it's the shirtless thing, it's the primal shtick. All of this participates in it, and it makes him a character. He's quite literally a character. If you saw him in a movie, you would believe that. Liver King in a movie, yeah, that's a role I want to see. 8. Dogmatism 2. Because the character in the movie keeps screaming at me to eat raw meat and to stop being subprimal, and frankly, I don't stand for it. It is really annoying, and this is the issue with people who are dogmatic. There's a just in-between to have, but he doesn't give a fuck about an in-between because he's all in. His shtick is reject modernity, reject everything that he doesn't preach. So you end up with a dude that if you tell him that you ate asparagus, he's going to tell you that you're not primal. Or if you tell him that you sleep in a bed, like a regular fucking human being, he's going to tell you that you're not primal, you have to sleep on the ground. All of this is dogmatism to a T, but notice how popular it made him. You know why? It's because people like polarizing personalities. People don't like centrists. People don't like people who say, well, it's maybe this and maybe that. Black or white. No, people like people who come and they say black. It's black. Fuck white. It's black all the way. And people who say white are sub-primal. Primals all say, all of my homies say that white is the best and black is the worst. And I'm certain that this is going to be taken out of context by a meme channel. I'm looking forward to it already. Black pill 2. I'm jumping the guns. Or I'm jumping the sticks, right? We want to remain primal. I'm jumping the sticks. After dogmatism, there is originality. Originality 10. He's original as fuck. He took a formula and he turned it into gold. The carnivorous, the meat-only thing that's been around for 15 years. There's plenty of people on YouTube who attempted that and they all failed. They never managed to become as big as him. Why? They were not him. They were not the Liver King. He created the Liver King. He saw organ meat, which is a tiny niche of raw meat eating, which does absolutely jack shit, by the way, for health or muscles, and he ran with it, and he turned it into a multi-million-dollar enterprise that is original. The rest of these meat eaters, the best thing they can do is act schizophrenic on camera. That's the best thing they can do. They can be lolcows. The vast majority of them are delusional. They have mental illnesses. He does as well, but he managed to weaponize it. Some people weaponize their autism. He weaponized his deep-rooted hatred for vegetables, and he managed to turn it into something beautiful. So 10. He put organ eating on the map, and then he shot on the map when he got exposed. And now people are going to associate eating organs with being a fucking charlatan, and it truly is beautiful, this platform that we have. It really is. It is a fucking circus. Black pill too, because yeah, when you are exposed for taking steroids, all of your fanboys are going to be heartbroken because they thought they could look like you. They thought, one day I too will be able to look like a lobster. I too will have muscles that look completely unreal and even disgusting. I too will be able to turn into a ninja turtle and have a bloated gut. And now they will never be able to attain it without drugs. Oh, the poor babies. It truly saddens me to think about it. But low grade for black pill. Reject modernity shtick is again a complete meme. All of this is not going to correlate with people having big physiques. I love the fact that he went as far as going to Africa and being with people and saying like, look at these tribesmen. They also follow the primal way of being, and this is why they look like they look. And you have the African dudes around who are like, well, he paid us $30, and we don't understand what he says because he screams and rambles, but we'll just nod because he starts to worry us a bit. We have caught him doing some unchristian things with a zebra like in the background, so let's just say whatever the bearded guy says to do and then he'll leave us alone. He went that far. That is dedication. But he also blackpilled these people because now they're going to think that all Europeans are like this. Humor 7. So the key to understand Liver King's humor is to laugh at him and not with him. You have again to look at him like he's a cartoon. If you consume him like a cartoon character, he's really funny because it's hilarious to see the strategies that he's put in place to be able to keep the shtick going. Like when someone asks like a perfectly logical question like, why don't you cook your meat? Humans cook their meat because it preserves nutrients and also makes it easier to digest and it saves energy and it kills parasites. And his answer is, well, that's not primal. You're so primal. You're so primal, bro. Sleep on the ground with my wife and I. My kids only eat meat and they're jacked. I encourage anyone to go watch pictures of him eating with his kids. His kids look like they want to die. They look like it's the 15th night in a row where they had to eat raw meat. They just want to eat cereals and to be left alone and to be kids, and he just fucking refuses. He's like, no, you will get high blood pressure just like daddy and you will die of a heart attack at 45 just like daddy. This is the way this family has ever been. This is the primal way of living. People back in the caveman days did not live to be 60. That is modernity, that is bullshit. You must follow the primal way. That is funny as fuck. How can you say that this is not funny? What is not funny, however, is his fanboys. How? How do you look at the guy and not immediately understand that he's a charlatan? How? How stupid must you be? This is why I stay away from mainstream fitness. It's because guys like Alex Eubank, guys like Liver King, make me lose faith in humanity, where I think, all right, this is what makes it. This is what gets big. Guys like Basement Bodybuilding, dead in the water. Guys like Liver King, they blow up. Well, it's because we live in clown world, I guess. So in the world of clowns, clowns are also going to be king. It is the natural order of things. But it's sad. But what's saddest is having to deal with his fanboys, of people who still to this day defend him. There are still people who defend him. Of course, you have the schizos that only eat meat, who are sad because their cash cow quite literally got exposed and now it makes their entire practice and code look bad. So of course they defend him and are extremely dishonest when they do. But you still have people who stand by him. And actually his channel is not going anywhere. He's not going to be cancelled. People are still going to take advice from him. That is fanboyism 101. When you listen to a guy, he's exposed for a fraud and still you listen to him because you're so emotionally attached that you cannot actually think critically. This is what happens when you grow up without a dad, I guess. Empathy 6. For primals, he's like the second coming of Jesus. He's pretty much Jesus on a shit ton of train. And for some people that works. I mean, apparently some people were saved by him, right? They were born again. But instead of being Christians, they became primals. And it's real to them. Like there's a connection with the guy. He does meets and greets. There are people who take time out of their day to drive to a destination to be able to meet a shirtless dude. That happens. But that is, to me, a connection. There's something happening here. That is empathy. God complex 6. It could be lower in reality, it truly could be lower, but his entire shtick is not to be like this superior guy who knows everything. It's more trying to bring you back to the ways of nature. So he also has this like EP vibe in the background, and since EPs are fairly humble, he's trying his best to also be humble, and that sort of also works. He's cosplaying as a homeless man. I just realized, actually, if you put him on the streets of San Francisco, he would fall right at home. But instead of smoking crack or injecting heroin, he injects tren right into his ball sack. So God Complex, I was a little bit in the middle. I didn't really want to give him a bad grade, not really wanted to give him a good grade. Production quality 10, but it's perfect. Actually, I thought that modernity was bad. So aren't cameras also bad? Why is he on social media in the first place? Social media is modern, it's bad. He really should stop. He should stay in a cave somewhere and scream into the void and hope that people listen to what he has to say. That's anti-modernity. But it really must have been hilarious when he showed up to Africa to all of these people who have to fight on a daily basis to get those morsels of meat and to be able to survive. The dude shows up with a full camera crew, all decked out with lots of equipment that costs tens of thousands of dollars. Truly anti-modernity, my friend. Science 4, he attempted to peddle his bullshit and his carnivorous ways by relying on science, so I give him below 5. But most of the shtick is just screaming at people. It's based on emotion. It's trying to shame people into not being primal, and that actually works, so he doesn't really need science. That being said, his connection with science could be that he's actually the missing link, which would explain a lot, because I can sort of picture the guy being stuck in an iceberg somewhere, like we discovered the first man and it was Liver King all along, and that would also explain why Neanderthals disappeared, because they were all like him. So they were really good at eating raw meat, but the second it was about making fire or creating civilizations, the brain cells were not connecting anymore. Clickbait 7, so he has a YouTube channel, courtesy of Derek from More Plates More Dates, who gave him a massive shout out, but it's not that clickbaity, it's mostly information, and I think it's because he doesn't really care about YouTube that much. He started to care nowadays because he made an apology which got 4 million views. What a great thing that someone who is a piece of shit that has nothing to teach people gets that much visibility. Truly, the algorithm is working the way it is supposed to work, in the sense that it always prioritizes sensationalist bullshit and information can go fuck itself. But it's not too bad for clickbait in my opinion. Even the thumbnails are not that catchy or anything. And the same goes for content recycling, an 8. He doesn't make that many videos. What I've noticed with him is that he started making training videos and he quickly realized that people were catching up on the fact that he knows jack shit about training and also that he's way too weak for his size. So he quickly moved on to things like filming his family eating dinner, making Q&As, making vlogs, making meets and greets, all things that are more in his ballpark, that moved him away from fitness and that allowed him to recycle things that don't really need to be recycled, because it's easy to make fresh content when you're willing to talk about pretty much whatever. Conciseness 8, the videos are to the point, they're short. He prioritized channels and platforms where he could make short videos because he perfectly understands that he talks to Zoomers and people who have the ability to focus off a goldfish, so the videos have to stay short and snappy, and that's exactly what they are. Seniority 3, he burst onto the scene a year ago. He already destroyed his legacy, so that's a world record, I guess. He speedran the destruction of his own personality on the internet. That is quite impressive. So 3, I cannot give him a better grade for that. Supplements 0, because it's the Liver King. The entire shtick was to get people to jump on the organ meat bandwagon and then to purchase these supplements, because once you realize that organ meat doesn't taste that good, that it stinks up your kitchen, and that it's not that available depending on where you live, you're going to rely on supplement pills because it's that much easier. But since he scammed literally millions of people with his bullshit, I have to give him a 0. And then physique 8. His physique is disgusting in my opinion. He has a bloated belly, he has small arms and legs compared to his torso. He has, by the way, one of the only iterations of a pure spider physique I've ever seen on someone who takes a lot of drugs. It's almost impressive that he managed to look that bad by taking that many drugs. On top of it, he looks big on camera, but his stats show that he actually is not that big. He's 5'7", so a manlet, and on top of that, when people ask him his weight, he says 200 pounds, but I don't buy it. I think that he's below that. I think that his stats are actually much lower, and he relies on the illusion that his body gives when filmed by a good camera to make people think that he is actually that big. So I guess that drugs truly don't actually make a physique, because even when all these drugs, he still has to lie about his stats to feel better about himself. Liver King, total grade, 103 points. And that is going to conclude this video. Part 7 is going to come out whenever I feel like it, most likely in 2-3 months. If you have anyone that you want me to review, let me know in the comments and I will get to it as soon as possible. But for tonight, that is going to be that. Thank you for watching